Madam Chairman.
Thank you, Senator Blackburn. Senator Rosen, you are recognized.
Well, thank you, Chair Fisher, Ranking Member Lujan, for holding such an important hearing. It's really critically important because the security of our telecom industry is not only essential, I believe, for our national security, but also for closing the digital divide, because connectivity must be secure and resilient, as we've all been talking about, for it to be successful. And I appreciate the discussion on Salt Typhoon. We need to be sure that we protect ourselves in every way possible, building on our satellites and our undersea. But I'm going to move on to something you just touched about, artificial intelligence and our threat environment. Because AI tools have made it easier than ever for threat actors to create realistic and sophisticated attacks to gain access to sensitive systems, to our valuable data. And even without the use of AI, we continue to see cyber attacks with increasing frequency. In August, Nevada was hit with a devastating cyber attack, crippling its agencies, while the state worked with CISA and the FBI to track down the cyber criminals and secure Nevada's data. Thankfully, the state made a full recovery. It appears that no sensitive data was taken. But Ms. Jordan, I'm going to start with you. In this environment, with threats from cyber attacks growing every day, what is the risk of having a reactive federal response rather than proactively encouraging and in some cases requiring certain levels of cybersecurity for our critical sectors?
Thank you for the question. The risk is high, and the consequences are severe. We saw Salt Typhoon. There could be things that happen that are even worse than that, or Salt Typhoon could continue, they could be continuing to exfiltrate information.
And so we've cut resources at CISA. We disbanded Cyber Safety Review Board. So how is this impacting what we're able to do?
It is of great impact. I think to CISA with them putting out guidelines, them putting out known exploited vulnerabilities, sharing the patches and the criticality. In other words, you should do this one really soon because it's a high vulnerability. This one maybe can wait a little longer. And so without that information sharing that my colleagues have been talking about is limited.
CISA is that bridge between public and private, between our grid and all of that. It is important that we don't just get rid of CISA.
I think so, yes.
And so, you know, people have talked about the incentives for current telecom companies to ensure their networks are secure, common sense cyber hygiene, all the kinds of things that you spoke about, encryption, dual-factor authentication, passkeys. Ms. Jordan, again, I'm going to ask you, are there any federal programs that incentivize smart cyber practices? And what do you think about those? Quickly, because I have another question to ask Mr. Mayor.
Yes, I'm not aware of any that incentivize other than regulations that require. I think if there were incentives, I would be in favor of them alongside an accountability regime like light regulation that, looked at incentivization as well.
Thank you. As Mr. Mayor, I'm going to move on to you. In an AI-enabled threat environment, what can Congress do to help secure our networks? For example, some have suggested additional funding to support carriers and ISPs, ensuring that they have adequate cybersecurity protections. Quickly, I have one more question for a former Nevadan, I believe, worked for Sierra Nevada Corporation, but how do you think we can provide that support here in Congress?
I think you have to encourage innovation, not regulation. We had an incident 2 weeks ago reported by Anthropic that for the first time, using commercial off-the-shelf AI platforms, they were able to initiate a cyber attack. 80% of that attack didn't require human intervention. It was fully executed by an AI platform that is currently commercially available. Over time, that 80% is going to move towards 100%. That's the environment we're in. There is no way that a prescriptive checklist regulation is going to allow us to innovate in the way we need to innovate to address that threat.
So investing in public-private partnerships and innovation in our universities, our research institutions, and with our private companies would be, in your advice, reasonable?
Reasonable, vastly superior, and should be encouraged by Congress.
Thank you. I have one last question about U.S. leadership in the telecom industry. It's essential to securing our network. We have to be on that leading edge of innovation, maintaining our U.S. leadership in international settings. standards. So, Mr. Kaczynski, you work for defense companies like Sierra Nevada Corporation, which is proudly headquartered in Sparks, Nevada. Can you speak to the importance of ensuring we have secure and resilient communication networks? How important is it to national security and U.S. jobs if we do not have a strong cyber posture across critical infrastructure sectors like telecom?
Senator, thanks for the question. It's critically important that we have a secure cyber infrastructure. One of the core areas that I've looked at and thought about quite a bit in this is promoting that culture throughout the defense industrial base of leaning forward and adopting strong cyber practices. I think that's something that we've seen some adoption, driving towards strong incentive programs, encouraging the innovation that is being harnessed today to deliver next generation technical innovations. We're seeing in the satellite industry the launch of thousands of new satellites a year. That same innovation should be harnessed and driven to secure our cyber posture as well.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Senator Rosen. Senator Schmidt, you are recognized.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just to follow up on that a little bit, Mr. Jaffer,